Hey everyone, it's Jason. Wanted to get a podcast out this week, first week in February 2026. This week, there's three things that I wanted to call out that are happening right in front of our eyes. I want to make sure we all know them. So, first of all, vibe coding turned 1 year old this week. That's number one. Second, the jobs report showed a labor market completely splitting in two. And then three, we lost $285 billion in software stocks in what some bankers actually called the SaaSpocalypse. Nice term. So all these data points came in the first part of this week. Same story, but the divergence is accelerating. Some of us have been talking about this for a while. So when we talk about this, I'm going to talk about this back to a blog post that I did on my Substack this past weekend, the K-shaped economy. And we all talk about the K-shaped economy, and we know it's about income equality. I want to talk about the K as knowledge because we're seeing it more and more. So let's start with that. Picture the K inside your organization. Two lines coming from like one single point. Everyone knows what a K is. One's heading up, one's heading down. The traditional K-shaped economy happens usually between industries or income brackets. That's what the K-shaped economy means. I've been doing a lot of reading about this in the last week. But the AI knowledge K-shape is different because the divergence that isn't happening within job categories, it's happening within them. Does that make sense? It's not happening between the categories. It's happening within them, within the categories, within the companies, within the teams. I've watched this in my own company. A colleague started 18 months ago, get serious about using AI tools. She started using Claude to draft client proposals, built workflows. It really started experimenting and being curious. And I'm going to say this without anyone's permission. Last quarter, she probably did 5x. When I say 5x, 5 times the sales calls, 5 times the proposals, 5 times the responses than any of her peers, anyone else. It's the same role, same access to tools, but the difference is she's treating AI like a thinking partner, not like a search engine or search partner, which I'm seeing more and more today. So a big takeaway for me is the people winning this knowledge race or this K, the upper part of the K, never asked for permission to start running. So I hope that if you're in HR, you're in talent, you're in business of any kind, that it should stop you and say your workforce is really bifurcating right now. And your performance management systems will never see it. Never. We're measuring completely different things today. Two people, same job, same comp, same tenure. Everyone's operating at 5 times, 3 times, 1 time, -3 times each other. You may see it in productivity. Your engagement surveys aren't going to catch it. Your reviews probably won't surface it, but it's happening. And the distance between those people within teams, it's compounding. It's not closing. It's widening every day, every month. And the skills that compound to me have this really interesting, I'm going to call it cruelty, but that's a little rough. The earlier we start, the more impossible it becomes for others to catch up. Now, I hate saying that. Because it makes people think I have no chance. That's not true. But learning new things is uncomfortable. And a lot of people I run into every day are doing the most they can to avoid it, to avoid feeling stupid. And I get it. Like, I am naive and new compared to my kids. But once you watch the gap form every single day, it's really hard to unsee it. I think that within 18 months, companies will stop hiring anyone who doesn't demonstrate AI fluency in the interview. So when one candidate shows up and shows how they'll use, for example, Claude Cowork, and the other doesn't, that's what we're going to start to see. I don't think it might not even be 18 months, you guys. This is the now of work. The future's already happened, and we're planning. We're still planning for it. We have to catch up. And here's where I kind of want to push us all. There's a level to go beyond quote unquote using AI tools, which I see almost every day. The question shouldn't be anymore whether you use AI. It's whether AI has changed how you think. That is what I call embodiment, not adoption. The relationship with AI shifts from transactional to symbiotic. We're working together. The people that are accelerating the fastest in this, I see, they're not just skilled at prompting. They've actually rewired. They're not asking the question, like, what's the use case? We don't ask what the use case is for electricity. The people that are really ahead here in this K-shaped economy have rewired themselves. And the ones that have are describing like shifts where they're like, there's no way I can work without this. The ideas that they have would have stayed vague. They wouldn't have been as tested. And like the bottleneck, when we think about embodiment, it moves from what I think of as execution or have you logged in to imagination. To imagination. Now, if AI handles the grinding, the research, the first drafts, the patterns, then the human needs to concentrate where judgment and creativity and relationships come into play. I look at that formula. Quite simple. AI is doing the grinding. Humans, they're focusing on judgment, creativity, and relationships. And what we stop being is we stop being a production function and start being a direction setter. I also call that the difference between a thermometer, and a thermostat. Thermometer, we're reading the temperature. A thermostat, we're setting it. 83% of employees, according to MIT, believe AI will make their human skills even more critical. I hope we start to get this through to our organizations, not in training, but in mindset. These skills, they don't become less valuable in an AI world, the human skills. They become more valuable. Because guess what? The bridge here is fluency between the human and machine. And that only comes when we practice. So what we have to get right, you guys, for those leading HR, talent, business functions, the decisions that we're making over the next 12 months will determine where on the K we end up. Most learning and development strategies today, I'm going to call them backwards. They're building formal training programs, certifications, governance approvals, old school CBTs. Some of you are going to laugh at me, computer-based training. And by the time they launch, they're already outdated. There's no possible way to stay up at the pace of change. So the people that are building the fluency aren't even doing it through our LMSs or whatever we use today. They're doing it through experimentation. And we, as leaders, have to model that. We, as parents, have to model that. Our job isn't to teach people AI. It's to remove the barriers that stop them from teaching themselves. So as I've been saying for a long time, let's stop thinking about this as an IT project and embracing it as part of our people strategy. Not people strategy on transaction, but our human strategy. If your IT department's blocking tools, if they're blocking tools that your competitors are using, you're not managing risk, you're creating risk. And that risk is that employees are going to use AI badly, or they're not going to use it at all. The second thing is we have to think about how do we reassess talent. Most interview processes, and I had Ophir Sampson on my podcast a few weeks ago talking about this, at the end of their resume, the interview processes evaluate skills, and the skills are commoditized. So how fast can you analyze a spreadsheet? Those skills don't make sense when AI can do it in seconds. The questions have to be, how would you approach this problem with AI assistance? Show me a workflow you've built. Show me proof of work. AI fluency is becoming the skill that separates high performers from everyone else. And then third, make the K-shaped scene. You probably people that operate at 3 or 4 times the productivity of peers. You don't know who they are? Oftentimes they don't get the credit. So we have to find the early adopters and figure out what they're doing different. Upskilling employees costs 70 to 90% less than hiring talent with those skills. So what's so important is growing fluency. But don't let people leave and then hire replacements at 56% premium. Start thinking about it. And let me be direct. Buying more tools doesn't make you AI ready. Tech adoption without human transformation gets us nowhere. I've spent 2 to 3 decades, I have to say it, watching orgs like throw tech at problems that truly require mindset shifts. I had this call earlier this week with someone who said, why did self-service not work? It's not because the tech didn't work. We didn't change the mindset. To me, you guys, the companies that win this aren't going to be the ones with the biggest budgets, even though that's what everyone's bragging about. They're going to be the ones that transform and change how people think and work. So let's take these 3 things and close this out. It's a lot for this week. $285 billion evaporated from software stocks. And I truly believe that's because the people are vibe coding, building their own, and thinking different about the value of SaaS. That's the financial symptom. The real story is this K-shaped economy. And it's been forming for 3 years. Please make sure you understand it. It's the divergence between building fluency and people that are waiting. So for me, the question is to people, which arm of the K are you on? And which arm is your workforce on? The people on the upper arm didn't get there by being smarter. They didn't get there by having more money. They just didn't wait for permission, and they didn't wait for training programs. They started experimentation. So to me, that upper arm is for anyone who wants to climb it, no matter where you are in the organization. The tools are available. The resources to learn are free. The barrier to entry is just curiosity. Now, I say just, I'm going to cover that in a future discussion because I really want to get to it. But we have to start now, not eventually, now. And once again, like I said, I truly think eventually is the most expensive word in our vocabulary. So in 5 years, we'll look back at this moment, early 2026, and say, holy cow. That's all I'm going to say. Holy cow. The tech space changed as far as your offerings, the skills you need change, and the way business has changed and the way you have to transform changes. So, guys, I hope that was helpful. The divergence is happening. To me, the only question here is, which direction are you headed? Where are you now? And where will you be headed next? Thanks for listening. I hope you have a great rest of the week. Take care.